opens up this well of knowledge and wisdom and a witnessing of yourself that can actually help you live your life more deeply. Like, opens everything up to what really actually matters. The only thing that matters is right now. And right now, whatever you're looking at, pressing a button to, there is something so earth-shatteringly vital about that, because you're choosing to do that. You're intuitively choosing this out of everything available to you in your whole life. Help Me See is a podcast dedicated to the art of seeing. It's a space for the restless visionary with an insatiable desire to create the life and work you're meant for. My name is Bianca Mora, and I'm a photographic artist, a mother, and a coach who's transformed my fear of loss into power, art, and philosophy. One of the scariest quotes I never want to say is, "I wish I knew at the time." But I truly believe that we have the innate ability to bring our wise 2020 hindsight to our now. You can deeply experience your nostalgia now while it's actually happening with no regrets. All you have to do is see. In this show, we laugh, we cry, we get inspired, we overshare. We have life-changing conversations around making meaning, self-discovery, and shedding all of the BS layers in order to reconnect to our own sacred vision. Seeing yourself is an essential key to living powerfully. You are the vessel, the lens that filters absolutely everything in your life. What are you filtering for? Whether it be conversations with fellow artists and visionaries or my solo audio journal style introspective ramblings, each episode is meant to feel like an exhale, an unraveling of truth, a moment for you to be able to put your finger on something that you haven't been able to for far too long. Come exactly as you are. It's perfect. Honor your instincts. Let's uncover some of the most important things in our lives, which all too often can slip out from our view. Let's commit to seeing and consciously creating what only you can in your one and only life. Let's dive in. Good. So, good morning. I haven't spoken a word yet. It's 6:30 in the morning. And I already recorded the podcast episode yesterday, but this felt pressing. I wake up. Oftentimes, I wake up with a racing chest. It's like something sitting on my chest and thinking of all the things I have to do or want to do. But the most frustrating part is the translation. I start thinking of things I want to create, things I want to make. And as I'm laying there in bed, because the sun's not even up, I start feeling this agitation because my brain is trying to translate my gut. And I'm realizing that doesn't work. I was on a call, and a coaching call, and I had explained that I have this really frustrating sensation of like so much enthusiasm and energy and things I want to do and create and experience, and then it feels like my forehead, like the brain It's like I get the visual of like this alien movie, like, oh, like it's trying its hardest to speak and to make sense of the intuition, the gut, and the creator and the visionary. But I'm asking it to do a job that is impossible for it to do. The person guiding this call, her name is P the Fury, and she is magical badass. And she said, can you invite the mind to sit in the back seat? The mind can come out later after the transmission is complete, after that flow has taken place. But putting it in front of the visionary, of your gut, of your intuition is like stunting. It made so, like, as soon as she said that, I was like, yes. Oh my God, yes. That's why it's never a problem when I'm taking photos, because I never let that bitch ass mind in front of my flow. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, like, and even as I was laying in bed this morning, like 5:30, I'm like, oh, go fucking back to sleep. Oh my gosh, go back to sleep. And I just kept thinking about this feeling inside of me of like, oh, and like writing like in my head as I was laying there. But I noticed it wasn't just thoughts, I was editing it too. And that's the problem. We're not here to edit like a channeling of creative energy and vision, and we have to open and let all of that through in its full embodiment and expansion and all of that. And then we can come visit it and take a look. And I'm not like vilifying our brains. Our brains are freaking incredible. But I think we put them too high on a pedestal in comparison to our gut and that inner magic in every one of us. And actually this is perfect because the episode I recorded yesterday that I will plug in after this little early ass morning spiel is all about, I get into a little bit of the NLP stuff, but our limited ability to even recognize all that's available to us in a moment, and how our photo taking or our art making, whatever it is this like next level, different quantum plane wand or facilitator or translator that actually does exactly what we needed to do. That's why meditation is so important and also so hard, is because we are so used to our brains taking the lead. And when we're asked to sit there and just let it all go, just watch your thoughts and not attach to them. It's like, what? But that could be really important. But wait. But by attaching and clinging to any one specific rumination or thought, or whatever, you're immediately shutting off your ability to perceive the rest of the universe's offerings or existence. because our brain can only process so much. So that's why photography as meditation can be this extraordinary way of not only helping quiet that mind because you're kind of satisfying it in the way that you're doing, and it's easier to shut off. It's like, okay, well, they're doing something. You have that thing in your hand and you're in a task almost by taking a picture. But it's not a cerebral act. If you really allow and work with your impulse, not even work with it, but allow it, just free it and let your hand, your finger become an extension of whatever the hell's coming up without trying to make it anything, without trying to make it pretty, without trying to do it the way you've seen it done before. Then the act in itself removes you from that hyperfixation, that hypervigilance of judgments and shoulds and productivity and life. And it opens up this well of knowledge and wisdom and a witnessing of yourself that can actually help you live your life more deeply. Opens everything up to what really actually matters. The only thing that matters is right now. And right now, whatever you're looking at, pressing a button to, there is something so earth-shatteringly vital about that because you're choosing to do that. You're intuitively choosing this out of everything available to you in your whole life. I know it might sound like inflating a situation or something, but I think that's, again, our mind trying to rationalize and oh, they're there. It's what do we benefit from simmering ourselves down? When we find a synchronicity and we're oh my gosh, and we feel it's this other world trying to communicate with us. And it's well, the likelihood of seeing that. It's what? Fuck off. It's so rude. Why try to squeeze the That's like a kid coming up to you with magic and excitement in their eyes over something. And you being well, actually, what really happened there? And it's so funny because it's so understood that kids have such more ability to perceive what's actually going on in life. I've always had this really weird relationship with time. And I think that really feeds into me opening my eyes and feeling this ugh. Oh my, get up, do something, get this out, do it, be, live, breathe. Even the anxiousness for space. Go get space. No one else is up. Go, wake up, be in space. Time. Even before I had kids, I would wake up way earlier than I even wanted to because I would get off on being the first one walking down around the neighborhood I lived in San Francisco. Oh my God, no one else is up. I have this whole place to myself. I remember even when I worked a job that I enjoyed in a photo studio, I would have a doctor's appointment or something in the morning, and then I would be in a Uber on the way back and be looking at people that are sitting at a cafe, reading a book, or having a coffee date, and I would have such I felt like an animal in a cage. Oh my gosh, look what you're doing with your time. I have to go be in this space and I'm not allowed to leave. I gotta be in that space. I loved my job. I loved the people I worked with. And yet I was like, oh my gosh, to have to be somewhere with this time. I mean, come 11:30 in the morning on the weekends, I'd be like, oh my gosh, the day's almost over. Sunday scaries. Every Sunday. Only helped by Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'd start feeling really anxious and just tell my partner, I'm like, oh, I need Larry. Such fickle creatures we are. I was sitting on my porch, rocking in the middle of the day, and I had this feeling come over me of like, but here it is. I've always wanted this. Like, I'm trying right now to look around for part-time work or, just something to ease monthly expenses. But I've always wanted to meander through my days however I want to meander through my days. And it's here. And I, ironically, am spending a lot of my day looking for what to do in that time. And it'll be taken away from me again. By myself. What have you wanted for so long, and then once you got it, you didn't realize you had it? It's so strange. And how can you reverse engineer? Like, I'm thinking instead of, getting a part-time job, I'm like, what else can we take away from the expenses, the monthly expenses? Because there's many different ways to slice this bread, right? But I think sometimes we can forget and we just be like, I just got to do more. I have to do more. I have to be more, make more. But I'm in a season of pruning, healing and pruning. Okay, I'm going to drink more of my coffee out of this beautifully precious mug that my friend Morgan Bokovic created. I just love it. It's just so perfectly imperfect. The best way. She had made it. I photographed their artesian market, so Lakeside Flea and Mystic Market collab. So it was like a bunch of vendors, and she made these mugs for the event and was generous enough to gift it to me, which is so beautiful. And she's also a freaking magical being. Oh my God. She's been on the podcast before. She's on Substack too. Her name is Lava Lamp Lounge on Substack. I'll link to it in the show notes as well, so you can take a look. I'm also trying to help my focus with mushroom coffee. So I'm not putting hot water with the mushroom coffee. I'm putting the mushroom coffee in the coffee. But the mushroom coffee is only like half calf. I don't really know if it's helping, but it makes me feel good that I'm doing it. Okay, I will now roll into the original programming that was planned for this episode. And you're about to roll into me blabbing about basically photography as meditation. and how I was going on a walk with the kids and telling myself, oh, I don't need the camera, and everything that happened after that. Okay. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Help Me See. I come to you from the wide open space of a Monday afternoon with my kids in school. Oh my gosh, it's been really strange to have this much space. And I'm looking to not make that mean pressure for me. Like, oh, here's all the space. Here's the space you wanted. Now what are you going to do with it? You couldn't get so much done. Yeah, I've really been intentional about giving myself, dare I say, leisure time. When I have a bunch of stuff on the list that I want to get done, I'll stop and go outside and read some of my book first. And like rock on a rocking chair. And I'm kind of soothing myself as if I'm a child. It still hurts my heart so much. Silas, my 3-year-old who has never been in daycare or school or anything, he was so stoked the first week, and now this week it's like, oh, that wasn't a novelty. It's not a novelty anymore. And he wanted me to come in with him, and he said, I want to stay at my house. I just want to hang out with you. I want to be with you. So painful. And as much as I, in that moment, want to be like, it's fine, you can stay home. I've noticed in myself over the past couple days, like just this feeling of lightness, like this feeling of light love that overwhelms me. And I think it's because I have the space and what feels like in that, like the safety for my nervous system to be able to have time to myself. And then with that, I'm able to enjoy a different kind of presence with them when they are home. What I want to talk about today is how we were going on a family walk Sunday night. I knew we had school the next day, and we were all going out, and I went to grab my phone. And I was like, no, I shouldn't. No, I'm not going to have my phone. I want to be free and not have anything to hold on to. And then I was like, oh, but pictures. Like, I want to be able to take pictures. And then I'm like, oh, no, you don't need to take pictures. It's the same old walk. It's fine. Just be present. And then when I said that, like, my ears perked up, and I'm like, bitch, you know better than that. My version of presence is the photo taking. I don't have to take the photos, but I want the option to take the photos. So I brought my phone. And as soon as we start walking, as soon as we like get on the sidewalk, bam, 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 take this picture, this wonderful picture of my partner and my shadow. And then the kids were ahead of us on bikes and scooters. I always have loved this family portrait idea that is a mix of the actual bodies and in the frame, but also the shadows. It kind of started years ago when it was just us and our dog Tyson. And we'd be walking with him, and I would take a picture of our shadows, but his little body was in there. So anyway, I'm I take those pictures and I laugh to myself. I'm like, okay, cool it toots. Like we just, we just started the walk. Let's just keep going. And then I start laughing to myself, thinking about how deeply ingrained it is to subscribe to a certain version of presence, even when my experience is knowingly different than that. And after that little tug of war situation for the first 2 minutes, I found myself really going ham and just taking a lot of pictures. And, it's funny because just because I'm taking pictures doesn't mean I'm always looking at the viewfinder or the phone camera. So oftentimes I'll miss it and I'll take a picture cutting off their head or something because I'm looking at them in real life. But I really want to highlight and draw out what's happening there and what's possible for happening there and that experience. You know how when you're taking a picture and you're like, this isn't doing it justice. That's how I feel about reality. Sometimes I go to take the picture because when I'm looking at it, it's like, it's that moment of oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this. Silas is riding in front of me, this curly red hair sticking out from the sides of his helmet, and he was riding towards his dad. And the sun was behind his dad. And I was behind Silas. So it was just this magical, movie scene. And I take the picture because I wonder later I can edit this in a way that it actually feels like for me. Because it's so breathtaking, but even in reality, it's not as breathtaking as it feels, visually. And I think about how we don't see all the possibilities available to us. And life happens really fast. And, from an NLP perspective, I'm going to read a little bit of information from my huge hunk NLP certification book. I took my certification with the just fucking fantastic, magical being that is Haley Carr, and I will link her information below or in the show notes. And okay, so to get a little sciencey, there are 2 million bits of information coming at you per second. Those are coming through internal filters that are your attitudes, your values, your beliefs, your memories, your decisions, your language, your metaprograms, and time, space, and matter energy. So those around 7 chunks filter to inform your internal map of reality. So every second, your senses are bombarded with 2 million bits of information. And then your RAS, your reticular activating system, is what kind of sorts it all out and deciphers which information is let into the conscious mind and what goes into the recesses of the unconscious mind. So it goes through a process of deletion, distortion, and generalization based on your internal filters to determine which information makes it through to become your experience of reality. So to put it into numbers, your experience of what you know to be real, your map of reality, is less than 0.01% of reality or potentiality of the territory, what's available to you at all time. A note on intuition and memory. Your memory is stored in every cell of your being at the subconscious level, and it's a snapshot of a lived experience. But every single bit of information for each lived experience, including the raw data without meaning subscribed, is still being stored in the depths of the unconscious. So when you think your intuition is unreliable or woo-woo compared to your conscious logical understanding of a situation, just remember that the conscious mind remembers almost nothing. I fucking believe that. And creates meaning from your memories, which are only a small fraction of your whole lived experience. The intuition, on the other hand, has also stored, without assigning meaning, every other piece of data that enters your senses and stores it in your nervous system. This is why we can get a feeling before we have words for it, because the feeling is based on all the information you've ever taken in, ever. Okay, I'm going to stop there. When we think about how much stock we put into what we consider to be evidence, it makes me laugh. It sounds so pathetic. Well, what's the evidence? But when you hear that, now I go woo. That's why your gut and your intuition is almost always right. It's far wiser than what you can cognitively recall and make sense of. The most important things in life make no sense. We can't figure out. So when I think about this from a photo taking perspective, I think about how that impulse to take that camera up and to point it at the thing that you're pointing it at is not a fluke of inspiration or a fluke of skill or whatever that we can like shallowly deduce it to be. It's every memory in your body, every experience you've ever lived, every intuitive thought and sense that you have rising up in you and causing you to act. And then to think about how we can shame ourselves. Be like, oh, now's not the time to take a picture. Oh, just be present. What is more present than that? This. And then it doesn't stop there, because especially if you are a photographic artist that enjoys the editing process, then you bring that picture into your world and you can work within it and play within it to make it look more like what it felt like in your body when you experienced it, regardless of how natural or not the editing is. So often, I think I've shared this before a while ago. Currently, I'm really gravitating towards super pushed, strong, like less natural color. And before, like for years, I was really into more muted tones. And I talked about this on a past episode, but I had felt like, those growing pains of feeling like I was identifying with my old identity was this kind of look, but it's not filling me. It's not, I don't feel that click inside as I'm editing and saying this. It just feels like a past version of what I would consider to be my truth. So I had to catch up with it. We're always growing, we're always learning, we're always morphing, transforming, wonderfulness, pain, joy, all of it. But sometimes we can get so locked in the story of who we have been up until this point that there's this push and pull that happens. Like you're not quite here and you're not quite there. You're like straddling that line, and that can be uncomfortable. And it also can be really hard to have verbiage for that, like to be able to explain it and identify it. But I think that's where the pictures are like this powerful cheat code to keeping you honest with yourself, to keeping you tethered to yourself. I made this. This primal instinct came up in me and I made this. And only you can feel whether or not it's resonant. And only you can diagnose and orient to what you feel about the picture you just took. So that's why I say when you land on any photo that you took, look at it. Back up, zoom in, back the fuck up. Change your seat of consciousness. Don't look at it as I took this photo. Come out of that seat and look at it as if someone else took that photo and start to think about that. If you need to give it some air and some space, sometimes our judgments on ourselves are so intense that we have a hard time seeing past inside that bottle. But when you come outside of the bottle, you're able to read the label more easily. We know that where your focus is on, where your attention is on, expands, no matter what it is. The photos show you what you're focusing on. So loosen up that grip, loosen up that filtering that might happen around what you do and do not take pictures of or how you do it, and really give it space. Breathe into it. Let your instinct live as authentically as possible, because that's how you're going to get the most relevant, most powerful, most resonant information from yourself, because that's what this is. Our photographs are us teaching ourselves if we let them. Your photo habit is a cheat code for listening to your instincts, for hearing what you're trying to tell yourself. It's on the tip of your nose. We're on our walk and the kids are always, of course, getting distracted and dilly-dallying. And one of the things that they do so many times on a walk, can make me cry, is pick me flowers / weeds. And just that little voice, wait, I gotta give mommy a flower. And what a production it is. Getting off the bike, running to the patch of grass, picking up the tiniest little weed flowers that just crumble in his rough hands, and then he has to find more. But when that's happening, here, wait, I gotta give mommy a flower. I lift my phone and I press the shutter, press the shutter, press the shutter. It's like, oh my gosh, look at him. Look at this effort. Everything comes so much more deeply than if I were just sitting there waiting. Like, look how he's hunched over. Look at how he's got a backpack on and he's about to tumble. Look at the innocence and the purity. And then to take the pictures, like as he's walking towards me, click, 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 click. So until he's so close that it doesn't even make sense that I'm taking the picture because he's inside the frame. Like, being in a moment in that way brings you inside of it. You're not around it. It's engaging in it while it's happening. And there's space for all of it, right? Like you could take one picture of that and be content and you just want to be, and not everyone is as like psychotically like, obsessive about the photo taking. But there's something that happens, like, what is it, psychosomatic? Like when you're pressing that button, it's like, you know, you're pressing it because it's so important and so sweet and so whatever. And so you press. It's like you're finding the pulse of your life through the cadence of hitting the shutter button. It's like, this. I don't know. I just envision it as like nudging yourself awake. It's like, wake up. It's here. And the beautiful thing about the whole practice is when you're seeing like that, it integrates into your life, into your being deeper, and you're unavoidably recalibrating your knowing, your meaning in life, your intentionality, what's important to you. It keeps you grounded and centered in your central core, your knowing of like, this is important. Life's fucking crazy, but also right now nothing else matters but this. And even when other things are going crazy, this still holds its weight and importance. I feel that. It's in me. And then when you stray and you get far away, you go back and you look at your pictures and you listen to the pictures. Listen to what you did. Look at what you did. I have an unconditional trust and knowing that I am present for my life. I am tapped into the heartbeat of my life. I can harness that in an intentional way. I can choose to be more active in it and like use this information to do something specific and go to it for strength and courage and reassurance. Or I can rest in the knowing that I'm unavoidably recalibrated to what I've witnessed as my truth. You create your memories. It is so easy to gloss by a life that it is horrifying. It is so easy to miss when you're not giving yourself the time and space to make meaning of what's in front of you. Because at the end of the day, what are we doing? What's it all mean? What's the point? Nothing means anything until we assign the meaning of it. And we assign meaning, hopefully consciously, and if not consciously, it's unconscious to everything. No one's immune from this. It's recognizing where and what meaning you're assigning in your life. Meaning makes matter. Meaning makes it matter. If I'm making my photo habit mean that I am less present because I'm too concerned with making photos, then that becomes a constrictive energy in my life. And it becomes even more of a thing that I'm contending with because I'm going against my natural instinct. And then anytime I take a photo, I have this like weird subconscious guilt of like, oh, just be there. You don't need the photo. It's like, you're right, I don't. I fucking want it. I believe the single most important thing we can do for being awake in our life is to protect, nourish, support our instinct and impulses when it comes to taking photos in our life. And if it's not photos for you, it can be writing, it can be whatever it is for you. That creative impulse of like, oh, I want to do this. Just do it. Honor your instinct. Because you're trying to tell yourself something, you're trying to experience something, you're recognizing something. It's a sacred act of acknowledgement, of reverence, honoring. Next time you find yourself in that energy of, I want to take the picture, but I also don't want to be burdened. I want to just be here. What would it be like to let that camera be the portal to being in it more? To give that to yourself. Let yourself really sink into that.
This has been an Awkward Sage production.